Hi everyone, I'm Erica, and today I'm excited to introduce you to a special little someone. This is Luna. She is a crested gecko, and she is amazing. So today I want to talk a little bit about why I love crested geckos and why I think they are a great pet and how I learned about them. So I've always been into animals ever since I was a kid. And I've always liked all species, almost all species I've liked, but I've never been particularly into reptiles until recently as an adult. I never knew about crested geckos. I never even knew they existed really until this past several years. And the reason I learned about them is because I was looking for a pet that I wanted to have an animal, but I knew that I am a young mother with little kids, pretty busy, and I need something that's pretty easy and low maintenance, but still handleable because I really like to handle animals. I love being able to touch an animal and have them climb on me like this and snuggle with them, all of that stuff. So I was excited about getting a fish tank, but not quite as excited as an animal that I could actually hold. Also, I started learning that reptiles are really good for people who have allergies and sensitivities. So that's something I was considering also. Um, but yeah, I ended up coming across crested geckos, and I think they're so cute because they have this little smile all the time. They've got this cute little mouth that's always in a smile, and they love to climb, and their skin is really soft. They have really cool eyes. Anyways, crested geckos are just really cool. But they're very easy to take care of. What I do to take care of Luna every day is at night I will get her food mix. It's a powder mix that's specifically formulated for crested geckos to have all the nutrients they need. So it's really easy to feed them. You just have this little powdered mix. You add some water and you stir it up. I do it in a milk lid, a tiny little bowl, and then you just set it in their tank and they lick it up and eat it. It's made of fruit and sometimes insects and other things. They mostly eat fruit and insects in the wild. And some people think you should feed them live insects as well. Other people say it's unnecessary. There's a lot of opinions out there. But they're very easy to feed and take care of. There's also the food mixes that already have insects in it. So I don't feed her insects. I feed her the gecko diet mix, the crested gecko prepared powdered diet mix. I use Pangea, but there's several brands. Rapashi and Pangea are the most common brands used to feed crested geckos because they make a really good formula for them. And then, so I basically just make her little food mix and then I spray her tank with water morning and night. And that's pretty much literally all you have to do to take care of them. I do spot clean the tank. I just use like a tiny plastic spoon and spot clean and scoop out the feces, if you want to be scientific. And I do that maybe every other day. It takes like 2 seconds. And then like once every several months, I do like a thorough tank cleaning. I've only had to do it like one time so far. I've had her for about a year, but their tanks just don't get very dirty. But yeah, they really need to have the water misting at least twice a day because they do come from a humid climate naturally. And she drinks the water that I spray as well. So she doesn't have a water bowl, she just drinks the droplets. Crested geckos are from New Caledonia originally, and they actually thought that they were extinct for quite a while. Recently they kind of were able to, it's somewhat recent past that they were able to find that there were still crested geckos and that they could bring them into domestication. And crested geckos thrive in domestication. They're really easy to keep and they just do really good in captivity. So that's been awesome. Now we have a lot of crested geckos. Not a ton in the wild, but a lot in domestication. So most geckos, like little Luna here, are bred and raised in captivity, so she's not from the wild. So she's used to a life that's domesticated, so that's really good. And she's really soft, and she has these amazing little pads on her toes that can cling, like stick to things so well. So she likes climbing on my arm and climbing on her tank. They are climbers. They're arboreal, so in the nature they live in trees. And so you want to have a tank or enclosure that's upright. That's another thing that was a big plus for me when I was looking at options to have as a pet, is that she doesn't need a long tank, she needs a tall tank. So it takes up very little space because they climb up and down. They don't want the back and forth space as much as they want the height to climb. So I have a lot of like vines and, a big twig and things like that for her to climb in her tank. And she's really neat. And they're also inexpensive to keep because, you don't need a huge tank. You'll need to make sure that you do your research and get the right size, the minimum size requirement for a tank at least, and get the right kinds of, plants. And you can use artificial plants also. But yeah, you do need to do research, of course, as with any pet, but they are very easy to keep. They don't need the same kind of heat lamps and lighting that most reptiles do, which is another plus for me. They really thrive in room temperature, so as long as you keep your house between 68 degrees and like 76 degrees, you can look up the exact numbers, but right around there, that's really comfortable for them. You don't want it to get too hot, you don't want it to be above 80, and you don't want it to be below like 68. But if your home is that temperature, then their tank is also a good temperature for them. You can use a little thermometer type thing on the tank walls that will tell you the temperature of their tank too, to make sure it stays in that range. But you don't need the heat lamp if it stays in that range. And they're nocturnal, so they do need to have a good day-night cycle. So you'll want to make sure that, in the daytime, the room where they are is bright. I open my windows to make sure she gets natural light and has a bright room during the day when she sleeps. And then at night, you'll want to make sure that they have a dark room so that they can do their nocturnal thing. And their pupils, right now her pupils are little slits, but at night they turn into huge circles, which is really cool to see. And she just thrives in the nighttime. She wakes up around 8 p.m., which is right around now, and then she will go back to sleep in the morning. So she's active all night, jumping around the tank. She has her tail still. Crested geckos can drop their tails when threatened, but they never grow them back. So it's a lot of crested geckos don't have a tail, and they're perfectly healthy, but Luna still has her tail, which is cool. If she loses it, she'll still be adorable. She's just a really cool pet. I said this a billion times already, but her skin is really soft and smooth, and it feels really cool. And she's so low maintenance, but the way that my husband and I talk about Luna is that she's a pet who has very low cost and very high reward. There's very little you need to do to make sure that they're healthy. You do need to do it, but they're very simple compared to some other pets, but they're really neat. So that's Luna. Hope you enjoyed getting to meet her. She is the star of this book that I wrote called Luna's Rescue, and I have to thank her for helping me take the plunge into being an author, because she really helped me have the idea and inspiration to write this book. And if you ever read this book, you will see her picture in the back, because she is the star of the book. And that's Luna. Talk to you next time. Bye.